Trevor Noah is leaving The Daily Show. After 7 years, it's all coming to an end. Now, his ratings were basically in the gutter, but that's probably more to do with TV. On YouTube, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah was getting like 60 million views. That's right. Trevor Noah's show on The Daily Show rivaled that of Timcast. It's kind of crazy for me to think about that. That's around how much we're getting on our network. And that's just like the Tim Pool stuff. But the reason I bring all this up, and the reason this is so important, Trevor Noah's exit marks the end of an era. The behemoths of cultural impact are dying, and they know it, and they're very upset about it. It's not just Trevor Noah. This year, we have seen the end of many titans. James Corden leaving The Late Show in 2023. Samantha Bee's show was canceled. And I don't want to say that, I'm not trying to say that they're titans necessarily. What I mean is the cultural institutions, the corporations, they have tried, they have clawed, and they have desperately begged. Please watch. People don't want to. So as we're learning of Trevor Noah's exit, there's a few things to point out here. Mainly, the rise of independent, libertarian, conservative, moderate, let's just say the rise of the anti-cult. Because as Trevor Noah leaves, I want to start off this segment by showing you this image. In a video titled, "A Special Message from Trevor Noah," Trevor says, "I'm leaving, and it's been great, and I'm thankful to everybody." And then they show the audience. Take a look at this. The year is 2022. The month, September, the day, 29th. And there are people in New York still 100% masked, every single one of these people. Something's wrong with them. I will say it again. Something is wrong with these people. Joe Biden came out and said the pandemic was over. Don't trust Joe Biden? Okay, I don't blame you. The dude's out of his mind. But the mask mandates have been over for what, a year plus now? When did the mask mandates end? Last year? Pretty sure it was over a year ago, a year and a half ago now. I mean, I don't know about New York, but apparently they're all still doing it. Because I'm going to say it again, something's wrong with these people. And this is probably why the cultural institutions are in decay, at least one of the reasons. Not specifically the mask thing. Like, I don't care if you want to wear a mask. I get it. I'm just saying, like, why is every single person in the audience at Trevor Noah wearing a mask? They probably make them do it. Why do they make them do it? I have no idea. Must be that they're in a cult. I remember a tweet from David Hogg. He said that even if the mask mandates were over, he wouldn't want to take it off because people might think he was a Republican. Because you're in a cult. Watching these media personalities leave, lose out, or just falter, it's confidence building. It is. And so the other big news here, Fox News' Gutfeld rides high in late night. After 18 months, it's become appointment viewing. Sure. I think, what are they saying? 6 weeks? Is it the sixth consecutive week as the most watched show in all of late night? Congratulations, Greg. You know, it's funny. Timcast, so this show and IRL, we produce a lot of content, probably way less than Trevor Noah. So we do, I think, what are we pulling in? 3 hours of content per day. Between all of that, maybe 3.5. We're hitting around 60 million views across the board. That's not including any of the other Timcast shows like Pop Culture Crisis or Tales from the Inverted World, which admittedly are nowhere near as large as Timcast. Trevor Noah was getting just about that. He was getting 65 or so per month, producing substantially less. But here's a little something y'all need to understand about market, audience, etc. If there's a bell curve, I guess. At a certain point, producing more content does not result in more viewership because people can only watch so much. You've hit the upper limit of what your audience size is. If we were to reduce Timcast IRL to a weekly podcast, we would probably be getting 1 to 2 million views, maybe more than that, 1 to 2 million views per episode. But it's 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, you break that up, we're getting like 400 to 500 per episode. That's a diminishing return. We'd probably get like 1.4 or whatever. Anyway, my point is, Trevor Noah's viewership is in some ways comparable, granted way more on his show, to us. but they're done. Trevor Noah's out. There's no community behind what they're doing. Their weird lies, their cult-like behaviors, and their show it's done. It's not working anymore. They're a cult, as exemplified by the masks. But I want to show you something real quick. Head over to Twitter and follow at TimCastNews. We got 10,000 followers, and we just launched. It just joined October 21, but the tweet started going up officially, I think, only a few days ago, and already 10,000 followers. Timcast.com/news. Just follow us on Twitter. And here's the story. Trevor Noah to exit The Daily Show. The comedian who came out of near anonymity to take over the program from Jon Stewart in 2015 plans to exit the flagship Comedy Central series after a 7-year tenure that saw him transform it for a new generation of viewers who are more at home on social media than they are cable outlets and broadcast networks. Noah revealed his plans to an audience at Thursday evening's taping of the program in New York, saying, "I've loved hosting this show. It's been one of my greatest challenges. It's been one of my greatest joys. I've loved trying to figure out how to make people laugh, even when the stories are particularly ishy on the worst days. I'd like to take you all back in time to when Jon Stewart was hosting the show. Jon Stewart praised Project Veritas on more than one occasion. I mean, he mocked them a little bit too, but he mocked everybody. But he actually praised the work they did. I think it was on Acorn. Jon Stewart would call out the corporate press, be it Fox News or otherwise, often Fox News. However, despite the fact that we can look back at the content produced by Jon Stewart and say some of it was rational and reasonable, Jon Stewart ushered in an era of vapid brain drain. And for that, there needs to be some reflection on the part of Jon Stewart for his legacy. Jon Stewart, he went on Crossfire with Tucker Carlson, and I don't know who else was on it. And he basically told them that they were bad and that it was a bad thing to do. Here you had a show, I think it was CNN. Crossfire was a conservative and a liberal, and they would discuss news and have arguments about them. And Jon Stewart comes in and just roasts and rags on him and mocks Tucker Carlson and says it's stupid, it's bad. Tucker did not perform well in that famous historical video. But some say that was the nail in the coffin for Crossfire. Jon Stewart, he said, I am a comedian and I am presenting the news in this way and calling things out, and you guys are putting on a spectacle. I am the noble one, so saith Jon Stewart. And then what happened? Because of the success of The Daily Show and what Jon Stewart did, they hired a bunch of other people. Colbert got a show. Trash. Now he's hosting, The Late Show or whatever. So the viewers are basically baked in, though decaying. It's really funny because one of the funniest things about Colbert is that he's mocking his own audience, and it doesn't work. The reason the ratings are down, one of the reasons, is that it's older people watching TV, but you're ragging on older people's politics. But we got, Jordan Klepper, we got John Oliver, we got Samantha Bee, and of course, Trevor Noah. This breed of, what's the right word? Mechanical presentation of news comedy. John Oliver, for instance, it was so formulaic, it generated memes. It's current year, little Timothy. Because that's what he would say all the time. He had one joke. Jon Stewart at least had some authentic criticism, but it's all come crashing down. Trevor Noah was only getting a couple 100,000 views per show anyway. They would then put up clips on YouTube, and they were getting, I think last month, around 55 million. So, hey, good for them. Granted, they're riding the legacy of Jon Stewart. They're basically wearing The Daily Show as a skin suit, and YouTube is propping them up. So let me make this clear for all of you. Why it's all just good news. The corporate establishment is dying. We all saw this in July. Samantha Bee's Full Frontal canceled. Good. It was terrible. Nobody watched it. Despite the fact that YouTube and social media props them up, they could not make it work. Let's talk about Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah gets 55 million views on YouTube. Why? Because YouTube props him up. Because their legacy. That's it. And we get censored. That's right. Many people pointing out they're not getting notifications for Timcast IRL anymore. So I tell people you've got to be the notification. We are swimming upstream. They're swimming downstream. And in the end, I think our cultural efforts will take over. They are taking over. And that means culture war victory. I put out a song about a month ago. Did really, really well. Salon's pissed. I'm like, I don't know. I just made a song. We made a song. I don't know. What you like it? You don't like it? Whatever. Hit number 2 on Billboard. So, there's that. Number 2 on iTunes. All good news. And they're losing their minds over it. The response we get from making culture is that we are bad at it, despite the fact that we are winning at it. They mock Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, despite the fact that they are winning at it. So, I guess the point of all of this is white pill moment, I suppose. Trevor Noah's departure is, look, who are they going to be able to get for that show? I think that's the end of the Daily Show. It was already bad enough with Trevor Noah. He was just not good. It's all pandering. It's all red meat to the cult, hence the masks in the audience. Nothing substantive. Just whatever we think popular opinion is, we espouse. But the narrative is broken. Someone super chatted us on Timcast IRL, and they said, you know what I see whenever you talk about culture is that no one really knows what culture is, and it's just spectacle and entertainment. And that's wrong. We know what culture is. Culture is the clothing you wear. It's the food you eat. It's the language you speak. It's the land that you share. It's so many things. It is shared behaviors and values among a people. Culture. When I talk about why we need to win the culture war and why we're making culture like the Cast Castle vlog, check it out at timcast.com, or music, why it's so important that we highlight when there are great victories like Trevor Noah leaving, the show's getting canceled, is that our culture is shaped by those with influence. And if we sit back and let people like Trevor Noah dictate what is meant to be acceptable and funny, this country will be led by people who don't actually know what's happening. They're lied to and manipulated, and they believe stupid, garbled nonsense. Hands Up, Don't Shoot was fake. The Covington kid story, that was fake. Jussie Smollett story, that was fake. Russiagate, that was fake. Ukrainegate, that was fake. Ahmaud Arbery, that was fake. And it's because of these cultural institutions, people believe it. And now watching them decay and watching Greg Gutfeld succeed six consecutive weeks, it's a good day. It's a good day. It's supposed to be a little rainy. It's getting a little chilly. But you know what? It's a good day. Watching them decay and watching our victories. We need more. I hear often from people over at Timcast IRL, a lot of the super chats saying they're starting podcasts. That's one way to do it. But I want to say, too, just because we do a podcast doesn't mean a podcast is the only path to success. There's a bunch of things you can do. Skate, play music, play board games, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just naming off things that we do, but have a potential for culture building. And here's where it matters. When you make a show and you see a video of a guy, let's say there's a dude, and he's raided by the FBI. What would we get from the left? They'd be like, oh, well, you shouldn't have been a criminal. Then the audience laughs. And that's Trevor Noah. What do we want to hear is the government justifying its raid on the home of this individual? One example. There's a guy, pro-lifer. After 3 years and having charges dismissed, or I think he wasn't even indicted, I don't know, the feds raid this guy's house, 30 agents. Some random guy. Why? That's the kind of thing that we should be mocking and saying no to. When you control culture, you control politics. If you can convince everybody, if there's one show, no other channel, let's say every channel's deleted, and the only show is Trevor Noah, everyone's going to watch it. And some people will disagree and some people will agree, but many people will passively absorb what he says and assume it's true. And then he'll come out and say things like, but we need the FBI to raid this guy's house because this guy he attacked a pro-choice person. You can't do that. You have to be arrested. You have to be beaten and flogged in public by everybody. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, You ever watch Big Bang Theory? Oh, man. It's like there's not even jokes in that show. But think about how many people just passively watch that. So we need to build culture, have conversations that say no. We don't accept that stuff. So right now, it's not just the end of the Daily Show, presumably. It's the rise of Greg Gutfeld. Look at this. Gutfeld marked its 6th consecutive week as the most watched show in all of late night, beating CBS's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He beat Fallon and Kimmel, but who cares about them? Wednesday night. One of those stars was Fox and Friends co Steve Doocy, who drew some laughs, blah, blah, blah. They go on to mention people watch the show. Last week, Gutfeld was the only late-night program on TV to draw an average audience of more than 2 million viewers. Colbert had a total audience of 1.867 million. Fallon drew 1.481 million, and Kimmel had 1.3. Comedy Central's The Daily Show was nowhere near, with 349,000. And YouTube props them up. It's the most infuriating thing. Despite the fact that they know our shows are way more popular with better retention, they only prop up the garbage. Why? Simple. Narrative control. Gutfeld is on a mainstream platform, Fox News. YouTube screws them a little bit, but they still get big benefits. It was May of, I believe, 2018 when YouTube shifted the algorithm, nuking channels like mine. And then all of a sudden you could see in the data, MSNBC, Fox News, and CNN skyrocketed in recommendations. My channel and many others went straight down in recommendations. We used to see large audience growth. And then they smacked us in the face because we're outsiders. But you know what? No matter what you want, it doesn't matter because meritocracy still rules out. What they would prefer over at Google is a controlled narrative. But unfortunately, the infrastructure was built over a long period of time and you can't do anything about it. They're trying. They're making it harder and harder for people to grow and people to establish themselves. But in the end, merit still wins. So despite the fact that they're trying to censor us, that they don't send out notifications for our live show, despite all of that, the merit of the show still generates shares and revenue and makes us grow. And they can do nothing to stop it. Oh, I've got big news coming up soon. Maybe I should just say it. Maybe I should. You know what? Let's do this. I'm in a good mood. We just secured what's called the North End domination of Times Square for New Year's Eve. Yeah, I don't know. We just did it because we can, because we're taking over and we are winning and they are losing. The North End domination is most of the ads on the north end of Times Square, which should mean on New Year's Eve, when this location is broadcast to the entire world, on the entire north side, except for there's a couple ads that are owned by like Coke or something. There are 5 billboards from the ground to the top that will say timcast.com. And it's kind of crazy to think about. Our ratings collectively, the Timcast, the shows, just me. I'll put it this way. Tim Pool's content rivals the viewership of Trevor Noah's. Now, I know he's way down from where Jon Stewart was, but the fact that we have grown to a point where they've dropped and we've risen, it's the Thucydides trap of culture. A rising economic power is displacing the dominant force. And now we just signed the deal. Not only, this is going to be so good. Not only when you are watching Times Square New Year's Eve, are you going to see this big, beautiful Timcast IRL and Timcast.com ad synchronized across the board for everyone in the world to see on New Year's and Christmas. We got it for several weeks. We were invited to the official VIP New Year's Eve Times Square party with politicians, with members of media and big ad agencies, and people who I'd have to imagine probably don't like us all that much. But you know what? There is nothing you can do to stop it. It's time that something new took the place of the decaying old establishment. And it's not about being conservative, because I'm certainly not. Ask any conservative. It's about shutting out the cult. And something will be said to all of these brands when they are trying to figure out who is this guy and how can he afford to buy North End domination on New Year's Eve. CNN's going to be broadcasting it. And I'm going to say it's because your garbage content is not what the American people want. So how is it that a high school dropout from the south side of Chicago is able to rival that of The Daily Show? And our views are dropping and our host is quitting and this guy is standing here? Yeah. And of course, we're bringing Luke Rudkowski. It warms my heart. It's a victory lap. It warms my heart. I want you all to understand. I don't mean to brag or make it seem like a humble brag. I want you to understand what makes me the most proud. And it is that Luke Rudkowski, one of my best friends of the past 11 years, we've traveled the world. We've been some dangerous places. He's got his show, and he co-hosts with us periodically on Timcast IRL. He is a man who has confronted world leaders, the chair of the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds, some of the most prominent people in the world, the CEO of Google, Anderson Cooper himself. We got him up on a Times Square billboard because I want every one of these elites who was angry that this dude would dare challenge them to see his face looking down on them in their space. And it's going to be really funny. Come New Year's Eve, when we have a picture of me, a picture of Ian, a picture of Luke, some other individuals who mock the system and we're very excited for, when all of us who despise the cathedral and the establishment are looking down on these cultists with contempt and are standing in their midst at the party, they will say, "How did this happen?" And we will say, "When you retreated and entertained the cult ideology of the woke left, you left the door open for us to simply walk on through." I'm really excited for this. It is expensive. It's particularly expensive. But it says something. What you need to understand from a business perspective, outside of the personal stuff, securing Times Square ads on New Year's Eve is possibly one of the most valuable ads money can buy. Because the Times Square will be broadcast and photographed around the world for the ball drop. Now, we don't have so here's how it works. There's 100 seconds in rotation. We have 10 of those seconds. So every 90 seconds, we get 10. And that will show Timcast the entire span of this tower. Save, I think, 2 ads. It's like Coca-Cola and M&M's. We have on the sides, in the middle, on the bottom, and then off to the side again. And it's going to be a handful of rabble-rousers, like me and Luke. And during Times Square, we are going to be staring at the crowds. And it's just an ad. But to the powers that be, they will see one thing: defeat. They will see their power slipping from their hands. We are totally independent. Timcast is solely owned and operated and financed by me with no outside investors. The funding comes through our customers and viewers like you. There is no powerful interest. There is no billionaire. There is no government asset. None of it. Built from the ground up and now staring the elites in the face. There's nothing I despise more than elitists, than elitism. I hate it. I just can't stand it. The people who are born rich and stay rich and don't have to take risks. I don't mean anything personal by it, but when they set up these spaces and act like they're better men through nothing earned, not a fan. I've always been a bit of a lefty. I despise how we have this class of people who are handed wealth, and for that, they are able to stay wealthy forever. I believe in meritocracy, individualism, and personal responsibility. And this is us saying, we're taking over. I'm really excited for this. And it's all possible thanks to all of you. Granted, hard work over here at Timcast. We all work very, very hard. You know, I typically work 16-hour days. I get like an hour to exercise and an hour to eat lunch, but 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. every day. So how many hours is that? A little bit. What is that? That's actually only 15 hours? But every day, double shifts. No, I'm way off. Am I wrong on that one? No, that's 15 hours, right? I don't know, whatever, I can't think. It's a lot of hard work, but it's all your support. Because you guys are members at timcast.com, we're able to pull this off. And I was not convinced that we should do the Times Square thing. I talked to the company and I was like, I don't know, it's a lot of money. And I talked to some friends and they were just like, imagine standing there in the VIP section at this, there's going to be a bathroom. At this event that's invite only. The only people who are going to be there are New York politicians, probably a lot of Democrats, the heads of advertising agencies, and big corporations that buy the space in Times Square. And you will be standing there next to them. It's going to make for some interesting conversations, I wonder. But at the very least, it's to send a message This year, we had a lot of a bunch of ads around the country, mostly just Chicago and New York. And, oh, that was weird. We've had many ads. And, yeah, we're taking over. I should just keep ranting on this one, so I'll leave it there. But I'm really excited for this. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.